Hamas demanding release of Barghouti and Saadat in prisoner swap. Hamas is demanding the release of Fatah leader Marwan Barghouti and Popular Front for the Liberation of Palestine Secretary-General Ahmed Sadat as part of a prisoner exchange agreement with Israel, a senior Hamas official said on Thursday. Mar Obaid, member of the Hamas Political Bureau, said that any prisoner swap must include all the symbols, from Marwan Barghouti to Ahmed Sadat to Fouad al-Shobaki to Karim Yunus and others. He spoke as the Israeli Security Cabinet was set to convene on Thursday evening, amid speculation that a prisoner swap was in the works for the remains of Lieutenant Hadar Goldin and Sergeant Oren Shal, believed killed in the Gaza war, as well as for the release of two Israelis civilians Avraham Mengistu and Hisham al-Sayed. The Hamas official, however, downplayed reports about progress in the indirect negotiations with Israel to reach a deal and accused Israel of failing to respond to Hamas leader Yahya Sinwar's offer to make partial concessions to facilitate a deal due to the coronavirus crisis. Obaid claimed that the negotiations were also stuck because of the political crisis in Israel after the March general election. There are no real contacts, and until now there is no mediator assigned by the Israeli occupation to discuss this matter in a real and effective manner, he remarked. We are ready for a deal, and we are serious about securing the release of the prisoners, especially the elderly, females, minors and the sick. Obaid said that Hamas has informed Egypt and Russia of its readiness to strike a deal with Israel. He noted, however, that the contacts with Egypt and Russia did not move forward. A small sampling of Israeli who oppose prisoner swaps held a protest on the street leading to the cabinet meeting in Jerusalem on Thursday afternoon. In light of the COVID-19 pandemic, they wore masks and held up hands that had been painted red to represent the blood they believed would be spilled should such a deal go forward. They also had photos of past terror victims and a sign that read, "The terrorist who is freed today, will kill you tomorrow." Among the participating groups were the NGOs Choosing Life and I Am Tirtsu. The protesters argued that Israel should take the offensive and halt the transfer of goods and aid to Gaza until the hostages were released and the remains of the soldiers were returned to their families. Among protesters was Herzl Hajjaj, whose daughter Shir, an IDF lieutenant, was killed in a Jerusalem terror attack in Arman ha-Natzim in 2017. Cabinet members are to blame for the current situation in which Israel has to pay an unbearable price. We wonder where they are when Israel transfers hundreds of truckloads of goods to Gaza every day with building materials and medical equipment, Hajjaj stated. We are continuing the protests against the upcoming deal for the release of terrorists. It's time to stop this madness in which the State of Israel continues to hand out sweets to Hamas, Hajjaj said. Obaid, the Hamas official, said that his movement insists that a new prisoner swap include prisoners from all the Palestinian factions, including those who are serving life sentences. Among those who Hamas wants freed are 4 Palestinians with blood on their hands. Barghouti, a senior Fatah official, was arrested by the IDF in 2002. He was tried, convicted on charges of murder and sentenced to 5 life sentences. Saadat was accused of masterminding the assassination of Tourism Minister Rehavam Ze'evi, who was killed in 2001. In 2008, Saadat was sentenced to 30 years in prison for heading an illegal terrorist organization and for his responsibility for the murder of Ze'evi. Al-Shobaki, a former general in the Palestinian Authority Security Forces and a financial consultant to former PLO leader Yasser Arafat, is serving a 17-year prison term for his role in the attempt to smuggle a ship that carried weapons from Iran into the Gaza Strip in 2002. Yunus, an Arab Israeli, is serving a 40-year sentence for his role in the kidnapping and murder of IDF soldier Avraham Bromberg in 1980. 3 years ago, the Palestinian Fatah faction headed by PA President Mahmoud Abbas appointed Yunus as member of its Central Committee. Obaid said in an interview with the Hamas-affiliated Palestine Information Center website that his movement was seeking an «honorable agreement» that would lead to the release of Palestinian and Arab Israeli prisoners. According to Obaid, Hamas is giving priority to elderly, female, sick and minor prisoners with the hope that they would be the first to be released from prison in the context of a new agreement. In addition, he said, Hamas is demanding the release of all ex-prisoners who were re-arrested by Israel after they were released in the 2011 Gilad Shalit prisoner exchange. God willing, the next deal will be comprehensive and will include prisoners from all the factions, Obaid added.